The studio lights were bright, the audience buzzing with anticipation as Reba McEntire, the queen of country music, stepped onto the set of the Kelly Clarkson Show. Fans had been eagerly awaiting this moment, expecting a warm reunion between two of country music's biggest stars, whose lives have intertwined through music, family, and shared history. Kelly Clarkson, ever the charismatic host, greeted Reba with her signature enthusiasm, her voice booming with excitement as she introduced the legend to the crowd. The energy was electric, with the audience clapping and cheering, ready for what promised to be a heartfelter and nostalgic conversation. Reba, dressed in her iconic style with a sparkling smile, seemed ready to share stories from her decades-long career, her recent projects, and perhaps even a few laughs with Kelly, who has long admired her. But beneath the surface, there was a tension that no one could have predicted. The two women share a complicated history, tied not just by their mutual love for country music but also by personal connections that have weathered storms of their own. Kelly, once married to Brandon Blackstock, Reba's former stepson, had navigated a highly publicized divorce that left ripples in their shared circle. Reba, known for her loyalty to family, had always maintained a close bond with Brandon and his father, Narvel Blackstock, Reba's ex-husband. This backdrop set the stage for what would soon unfold. As the interview began, Kelly dove into light-hearted questions about Reba's latest album and her role on The Voice, keeping the tone upbeat and fun. Reba responded with her usual charm, sharing anecdotes about her life on the road and her passion for mentoring new artists. The audience was eating it up, laughing at Reba's witty one-liners and clapping for her heartfelt stories. But as the conversation shifted to more personal territory, the mood began to change. Kelly, known for her candidness, asked Reba about her thoughts on family dynamics and navigating relationships in the public eye. It was a question meant to spark a meaningful discussion, but it seemed to catch Reba off guard. Her smile faltered, and her responses became shorter, more guarded. The audience, still unaware of the brewing storm, continued to cheer, but those watching closely could sense a shift. Reba's posture stiffened, and Kelly, perhaps sensing the discomfort, tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But the damage was done. The question had touched a nerve, and what started as a friendly chat was about to take a dramatic turn. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment as the tension between the two women grew palpable. Kelly, ever the professional, pushed forward with her questions, but there was an edge to her voice now, a hint of frustration that Reba wasn't opening up as expected. Reba, on the other hand, seemed to retreat, her answers clipped and her eyes darting toward the audience as if searching for an escape. The once lively atmosphere in the studio began to feel heavy, and the audience's cheers grew quieter, replaced by murmurs of confusion. What was happening? Why did this feel so different from the warm, nostalgic reunion everyone had expected? The internet would soon be abuzz with speculation, as clips of this moment began to circulate, leaving fans stunned and hungry for the full story behind this unexpected clash. As the interview continued, the tension between Reba McEntire and Kelly Clarkson became impossible to ignore. Kelly, known for her ability to connect with guests on a deep level, seemed determined to keep the conversation going, but her questions began to probe deeper into Reba's personal life. She asked about Reba's relationship with her former stepson, Brandon, and how she had navigated the fallout from Kelly's divorce. The question was bold, perhaps too bold, and it struck a chord that resonated far beyond the studio. Reba's face tightened, her usual warmth replaced by a steely resolve. She responded with a curt remark about family being complicated, but her tone suggested she had no intention of diving into the details. The audience, now fully aware that something was amiss, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Kelly, sensing the resistance, tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but it fell flat. Reba's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, it seemed as though she might brush it off and move on. But then, Kelly pressed further, asking Reba if she ever felt torn between her loyalty to her family and her friendship with Kelly. It was a question that cut deep, touching on the complex dynamics of their shared history. Reba's response was sharp, her voice laced with an edge rarely heard from the usually composed star. She spoke about the importance of loyalty and standing by those you love, a clear reference to her bond with Brandon and Narvel. The audience gasped, sensing the underlying jab. Kelly's smile faded, and for the first time, she seemed caught off guard. The exchange was no longer a friendly chat but a verbal sparring match, with each woman holding her ground. The producers, watching from the sidelines, exchanged nervous glances, unsure whether to cut to a commercial or let the moment play out. Social media was already lighting up with reactions, as viewers at home began posting about the uncomfortable exchange. Hashtags like #Reba vs Kelly and #TalkShowDrama started trending, with fans dissecting every word and gesture. Some speculated that Kelly's question was a deliberate attempt to stir up drama, while others believed Reba's reaction was overly defensive. The truth, as always, was likely somewhere in the middle, rooted in years of unspoken tension and personal history that had never been fully resolved. As the segment continued, Reba's patience seemed to wear thin. She shifted in her seat, her hands clasped tightly, as Kelly tried to pivot to a lighter topic. But the damage was done, and the once warm atmosphere had turned cold. The audience, now hanging on every word, could feel the weight of the moment, knowing they were witnessing something raw and unscripted. This was no longer just an interview, it was a confrontation that would be talked about for weeks to come. The turning point came when Kelly Clarkson, perhaps unaware of how deeply her questions were affecting Reba McEntire, made one final push to keep the conversation personal. She asked Reba about forgiveness and moving on after difficult relationships, a question that seemed innocent enough but carried heavy implications given their shared past. Reba's response was immediate and cutting. She stood up, her chair scraping against the stage floor, and declared that some things were better left private. The audience fell silent, the air thick with shock. Kelly, visibly stunned, tried to salvage the moment, reaching out with a nervous laugh and a plea for Reba to stay. But Reba was done. With a polite but firm nod to the audience, she turned and walked off the set, her boots echoing in the stunned silence. The cameras followed her for a moment before cutting to Kelly, who sat frozen, her face a mix of confusion and regret. The producers scrambled to cut to a commercial break, but the damage was done. The moment was already being recorded by audience members, and within minutes, clips were flooding social media. The internet exploded with reactions, with fans and commentators alike trying to piece together what had just happened. Was this a planned stunt for ratings, or had Kelly crossed a line that Reba couldn't forgive? The speculation was endless, with some praising Reba for standing her ground and others criticizing Kelly for pushing too far. Behind the scenes, the story was even more complex. Sources close to the show later revealed that Reba had been hesitant to appear on the show in the first place, wary of how her past with Kelly's ex-husband might come up. Kelly, on the other hand, had reportedly been encouraged by producers to ask bold questions to create a memorable segment. The clash, it seemed, was the result of miscommunication and unresolved emotions, amplified by the pressure of a live audience and rolling cameras. As the news spread, fans of both stars took sides, with some defending Reba's need for privacy and others applauding Kelly's raw, unfiltered approach. The incident sparked debates about the boundaries of talk shows and whether hosts should delve into personal matters with their guests. For Reba, the walk-off was a rare moment of vulnerability, a glimpse into the fiercely private side of a woman who has spent decades in the public eye. For Kelly, it was a reminder of the risks of being too candid, even with someone she considered a friend. The fallout from this moment would linger, shaping how both women were viewed by their fans and the media. In the aftermath of Reba McEntire's dramatic exit from the Kelly Clarkson Show, the story took on a life of its own. Social media platforms like X were flooded with posts, memes, and hot takes, with users dissecting every moment of the confrontation. Some fans praised Reba for her strength, calling her walk-off a bold stand against invasive questions. Others felt Kelly was unfairly targeted, arguing that she was simply doing her job as a host by asking about topics that resonate with audiences. The viral clips of the incident racked up millions of views, with hashtags like #RebaWalksOff and #Kelly vs Reba trending worldwide. Entertainment news outlets jumped on the story, with headlines speculating about a long-simmering feud between the two stars. Some reports pointed to their shared history with Brandon Blackstock as the root of the tension, noting that Reba's loyalty to her former stepson had created friction with Kelly since the divorce. Others suggested that the clash was less personal and more about the pressure of live television, where emotions can run high and words can be misinterpreted. Behind closed doors, both Reba and Kelly were reportedly shaken by the incident. Sources close to Reba said she felt blindsided by the personal nature of Kelly's questions, especially given their complicated history. Kelly, meanwhile, was said to be devastated, believing she had only been trying to create an authentic moment for her audience. The producers of the show faced their own backlash, with some accusing them of setting up the confrontation for ratings. In the days that followed, both women remained silent on the matter, letting the media frenzy play out without comment. Fans, however, were not so quiet. Online forums and comment sections became battlegrounds, with supporters of each star passionately defending their favorite. Some pointed to Reba's long history of grace under pressure, arguing that her walk-off was a rare and justified response to an uncomfortable situation. Others highlighted Kelly's authenticity, noting that her willingness to ask tough questions is what makes her show so compelling. The incident also sparked broader conversations about the nature of celebrity interviews and the fine line between entertainment and exploitation. For every fan who loved the drama, there was another who felt the moment crossed a line, turning a private matter into public spectacle. As the story continued to unfold, one thing was clear: this was not the end of the conversation, but the beginning of a larger reckoning for both Reba and Kelly. As the dust began to settle, the focus shifted to what this incident meant for Reba McEntire and Kelly Clarkson's relationship moving forward. Would they be able to mend fences, or had this public clash irreparably damaged their bond? Those close to the situation suggested that both women were open to reconciliation, but it would take time and private conversations to heal the wounds. Reba, known for her resilience, was reportedly focusing on her work, throwing herself into her role on The Voice and her upcoming projects. Kelly, meanwhile, continued to host her show with her trademark warmth, though some noticed a more cautious approach in her interviews following the incident. Fans speculated about whether the two would ever address the confrontation publicly, perhaps in a joint statement or a future appearance together. The idea of a reconciliation episode on the Kelly Clarkson Show became a popular topic online, with fans imagining a heartfelt conversation where both women could clear the air. But for now, both Reba and Kelly remain focused on their careers, letting their teams handle the media storm. The incident also highlighted the challenges of navigating personal relationships in the public eye, especially when family ties are involved. Reba's connection to Brandon Blackstock and Kelly's divorce had always been a sensitive topic, and the confrontation brought those issues to the forefront. Some fans wondered if Reba's walk-off was less about Kelly's questions and more about her own struggle to balance loyalty to her family with her friendship with Kelly. Others pointed to Kelly's candid nature, suggesting that her unfiltered approach, while beloved by fans, sometimes leads to unintended consequences. The media, meanwhile, continued to dig for more details, with some outlets claiming to have insider information about what happened backstage after Reba's exit. These reports, often contradictory, only added to the confusion, leaving fans to sift through rumors and half-truths. What remained undeniable was the impact of the moment a single interview had sparked a cultural conversation, not just about Reba and Kelly, but about the expectations placed on celebrities to bare their souls for public consumption. As the weeks went on, the frenzy began to die down, but the questions lingered. Would Reba return to the Kelly Clarkson Show? Would Kelly address the incident on air? For now, both women seem content to let the story fade, focusing on their music and their fans. But the memory of that fiery confrontation would remain, a testament to the power of words and the complexity of human relationships. The legacy of Reba McEntire's walk-off from the Kelly Clarkson Show will likely endure as one of the most memorable moments in talk show history. It was a clash that transcended the moment, sparking debates about privacy, loyalty, and the pressures of fame. For Reba, it was a rare glimpse into her fiercely private side, a reminder that even the most polished stars have their limits. For Kelly, it was a lesson in the risks of pushing boundaries, even with someone she considered a friend. The incident also shed light on the inner workings of the Kelly Clarkson Show, raising questions about the role of producers in shaping on-air moments. Were they complicit in pushing for drama, or was this simply an organic moment that spiraled out of control? The truth, as always, is likely a mix of both. Fans of both stars continued to dissect the moment, with some calling for a boycott of the show and others praising Kelly for her authenticity. The online discourse showed no signs of slowing down, with new clips and analyses emerging daily. Some fans even created fan-made videos, splicing together footage from the incident with commentary and reactions, keeping the story alive. For the broader entertainment industry, the confrontation served as a case study in the delicate balance of talk show dynamics. It highlighted the need for sensitivity when dealing with personal topics, especially when guests have complex histories with their hosts. Reba and Kelly, both icons in their own right, emerged from the incident with their legacies intact, but the moment added a new layer to their public personas. Reba became the stoic defender of privacy, while Kelly was seen as the bold, unfiltered voice of a new generation. As time passes, the incident may fade from the headlines, but it will remain a touchstone for discussions about celebrity culture and the media. For now, fans can only wait and see how Reba and Kelly move forward, whether they choose to address the confrontation or let it become a footnote in their storied careers. One thing is certain: the story of Reba McEntire storming off the Kelly Clarkson Show will be remembered as a moment when two powerhouse women stood their ground, leaving an indelible mark on the world of entertainment.